Welcome to Kevin and Brian's Horror Drive-In Theater Podcast, where each week we cover the latest horror news, shorts, and 2 creature feature reviews. Plus, we've been tapping into the Universal Studios movies. So this week after the news, we'll cover the Universal Studios movie Phantom of the Opera from 1925.
Also, the drive-in classic Cemetery Man from 1994, discussion of the short film Help Me Wake Up, and the modern horror film A Cure for Wellness from 2017.
So grab some nachos from the concession stand, turn up the volume. Here we go. And now, for some news.
In 1979, they said, "In space, no one can hear you scream." To mark the 40th anniversary of the horror thriller Alien, a special edition 4K Ultra HD Blu-ray package will be released on April 23rd.
This limited edition steelbox is going to include the 1979 theatrical version and a 2003 director's cut, along with audio commentary and soundtracks and deleted scenes. Anybody want an early Christmas present?
I do.
I do.
I know I've seen the theatrical version. I'm not sure. I probably have seen the director's cut. I mean, that's, 16 years ago, but I couldn't tell you for sure.
I saw it when it came out at the theater, and I saw it at least once since, all the way through, and I don't know if that was the director's cut or not.
I've seen it lots of times. It's probably one of my top 2 or 3 movies ever. It's really good.
Yeah, it is.
But yeah, I couldn't tell you. Can't say that they've ever been labeled director's cut. So
yeah, couldn't tell you. Yeah, so I need to check that out for sure.
So that's pretty good. Is there anything that could make it even better?
Yes, there is.
What?
Something else for the 40th anniversary. They had a competition of sorts for fan fiction, fan films, and Fox picked 6 winners that look like real winners that are going to be an anthology, 6 short films set in the same time and same universe as the first Alien movie.
Now, when you hear fan-made film, you're figuring something shot on a potato in somebody's closet.
These look really professional. There's a teaser trailer. Good. Yeah. There's a teaser.
Watch the trailer. These look every bit as good as anything you'd see made by Fox or anybody else doing these things.
Yes.
Okay, second up. You want to know when you're going to die? There's an app for that. Deadline.com reports that an upcoming film called Countdown has a premise that we love. Elizabeth Lail stars in the upcoming horror film, written and directed by Justin Deck. Lail will play a young nurse who downloads an app that claims to predict exactly when a person is going to die.
That sounds like a novelty thing that you'd see on the App Store and think, oh, that's fun, and download it. And
here's the fart app. Right next to that is the death app.
The X-ray app and all these fake apps. And whoops, that one's real.
Well, this one tells her she only has 3 days to live. With time ticking away and a mysterious figure haunting her, she needs to find a way to save her life before time runs out. No release date has been set yet.
Keep an eye out for that one, though.
And check the App Store.
Another 40th anniversary, which isn't being celebrated with a whole lot of fanfare, and that's a sad thing. Tourist Trap, 40 years ago this month, in March 1979, that opened at theaters.
Madness, Telekinesis, and Mannequins. That's the one with Chuck Connors as a telekinetic killer.
And it didn't do very well at the time, but it has endured, and it's got kind of a cult following, and I think it's great. I love it.
I remember seeing it at the time, and other than the vague remembrance of Chuck Connors being in a horror movie, that's all I could tell you.
I didn't see it when it came out at the theater, but I saw it some years later on late night movies. And then some years after that, I saw it on DVD.
Okay.
Love it.
May have to watch that for one of our drive-in specials sometime. 40 years.
Tell everybody about it.
Yeah, don't just sit in a hole in the ground and pretend it didn't exist.
You should watch a movie about it.
A hole in the ground.
The hole in the ground.
The hole in the ground.
Not a hole in the ground. It's the hole.
Irish horror movie with great-looking trailers, critical praise, and good reviews will be available on DVD April 30th.
This is kind of a follow-up. We mentioned this before as being one that looked really good. It kind of skipped showing in U.S. theaters.
Not a good sign.
Well, everybody raves about it. It's getting a lot of good stuff. It showed on Irish movie, just a very limited theatrical showing here, and now it's on streaming, and it's going to be on DVD.
Okay, so we'll watch that when it comes out real soon now.
Yep, got a link to the preview if you haven't seen that.
And last, Valancourt Books has announced a new limited series of 5 long, unavailable paperback horror gems from the 70s and 80s. All 5 titles will be available for a limited time in a special mass market format, and in some cases will feature their original glorious paperback cover art. The first will be The Nest by Gregory A. Douglas, a tale of mutant, human-eating cockroaches. It'll be available April 2nd and will be followed by another title each month. Hopefully they'll be able to continue this practice even with more titles in the future. Forbes has an article that we'll link to in the show notes, talking about the challenges they have of bringing back these titles that are out of print. These aren't public domain titles, but the authors may be unreachable, deceased, or non-existent because they were written under a pseudonym.
I actually read The Nest. I had a copy of that at one time.
Mutant
when it came
cockroaches.
Out. It was really good.
That sounds like a late-night movie.
It was. It would make a great movie. Yeah, it was really good. I haven't read the other 4 that are coming out, but that one I can definitely say, yeah, thumbs up.
Yeah, from the software field, there are a lot of good games in the 80s and the 90s for these old computers that haven't been updated in years, and you can't find the people or even know who owns the rights to them.
Mm-hmm.
They call that kind of games abandonware.
These are kind of abandoned books.
These are abandoned books. They don't know who wrote them, or they can't catch the person. The person may be dead.
Yeah, trying to reach the families to get permission, and yeah, I guess they had to jump through some hoops on. Well, they've got these 5 going. They're still trying on more, I guess, behind the scenes.
Yeah, releasing books now with publishing through Kindle and things like that could never have been easier than it is now. But there's still the same old legal hurdles that have always been around.
It's kind of like that gray area of movies, too, that were only released on VHS, and there's some movies out there that are stuck in limbo that aren't on DVD, aren't on streaming, that, might be lost forever if,
The only thing keeping them going is piracy.
Yeah.
You can laugh, but it's true in some cases.
For some movies, yeah. The only way you can get them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Speaking of the only way you can get them, oh no, not necessarily.
No.
The Phantom of the Opera.
There's lots of ways to get that.
A really old movie. Yeah, there's lots of different ways to get that.
The silent 1925 Universal Studios version.
I thought I had seen this growing up, but I'm sure I would not have sat through this one as a silent film. I did not remember it being silent.
I'd only seen clips.
I must have seen one of the many remakes.
There's many, yeah. It's been done.
Oh, I think everybody's seen that unmasking scene.
Yeah.
That's one of the more famous things in old movies.
Shocking. And that was shocking to the audiences. They kept that under wraps at the time they were doing the publicity. They were hyping it, and no images of him in the makeup were released.
Trailers today give away everything.
And supposedly even the actress,
Mary Philbin, she didn't get to see it ahead of time because the director wanted her reaction to be genuine. When she pulls the mask off, supposedly that's the first time she saw it too. That sounds an awful lot like one of those legends.
Yeah, and that one's pushing it. Yeah, but the publicity thing was a genuine on purpose. They kept it to shock audiences.
Okay, well this one stars Lon Chaney, same as in the Hunchback last week.
Man of a Thousand Faces.
Yep.
That's what they used to say.
Also Mary Philbin and Norman Carey. Written by Gaston Leroux and directed by Rupert Julian. It was about an hour and a half. And, well, it takes place in and around the Paris Opera House.
And under it.
And a lot of under it.
A lot of under it, yeah. I never read the original book, but I've seen the musical.
There was a book.
Yeah. It's based on a novel. The musical, the Andrew Lloyd Webber musical.
Mm-hmm.
It followed that pretty close up to a certain point, and then it started diverging.
Yeah, I don't see that ending having a happy ending.
No.
Okay, so the Opera House has just been sold. The old owners warn the new owners that they may hear about this phantom. And there's a strange man who owns Box 5, and they should check it out. And there have been various sightings of this alleged phantom, and the dancing girls are all terrified. Not too long after, the owners receive a letter stating that Christine is going to sing the role of Marguerite Wednesday night and not to interfere.
Christine's just one of the chorus girls, and
Nobody
suddenly the Phantom wants her to be the lead.
And the letter is signed The Phantom.
Or else. And they laugh it off, and they shouldn't have.
And of course, Madame Carlotta refuses to give up her place and insists on singing anyway. Strangely enough, she gets sick that night, and Christine gets to sing.
And she's magnificent because this guy in the shadows has been coaching her, not realizing that he's the Phantom because she hasn't seen him in person. She just hears him, and
he's hiding in a secret room adjoining hers. She's never seen him. She just hears the voice
until after the performance, and then he takes her down to the catacombs, professes his love. It's a sweet romantic story from there on, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's no death or mayhem or murder or anything.
Hashtag me too, she says. Yeah, Quasimodo last week was just a pawn of love. The Phantom, however, he's just a creepy stalker.
He's kind of sick and twisted.
He doesn't give up.
Yeah, and he'll murder to get his way.
And he does.
Yeah.
A couple of times. A couple of body counts on this one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so he's got this whole subterranean apartment down there and 5 levels under the opera house.
A gilded prison, basically,
Very
for Christine.
Much, yeah.
It ends up being. He ends up taking her down there with the intent of, forever.
And he professes his undying love for her and plays the organ for her, and she sneaks up behind him and pulls his mask off, and, well, you've seen that scene, I'm sure. Ah!
It goes downhill from there.
It does, yeah.
She's in love with Raoul, and Raoul comes to rescue her, and
there's a lot of chasing and running around down in the sewers that maybe drags on just a hair longer than I would have liked down in the sewers, the running back and forth. But it was all very entertaining for a silent movie. It was pretty decent.
All in all, I give it a thumbs up.
Yeah, definitely a thumbs up.
Yeah, worth checking out.
Oh, why is there always a mob with torches? There's always a mob with torches in these old movies. It's like they couldn't come up with one hero or something.
Because they didn't have flashlights back then. Otherwise, mobs with flashlights just doesn't have the same impact.
So anyway, the mob with torches do chase the Phantom down the street.
It ends poorly.
Yeah, and they eventually beat him to death, and throw him in the river. The end.
Spoilers.
Yeah, well.
If you don't know the ending by 1925.
If you haven't seen it in 96 years, you're not going to hurry. Yeah, there's always a mob of torches. So yeah, thumbs up. If you like the old classics, this is about as old classic as it gets.
Yep.
Now for a newer classic, we watched Cemetery Man from 1994.
I love this movie. This is the third time I've seen it.
I've seen it twice now.
Still enjoyed it.
This stars Rupert Everett, Francois Hadji Lazaro, and Anna Falchi. And the Italian, this is an Italian movie. It was dubbed, or subtitled, however you want to do it. And the original title was Della Morte dell'Amore, of Death of Love. Or, if you're in Spain, they titled it My Fiancé is a Zombie.
Mi novia es un zombie.
Yeah, that doesn't help.
Okay, My Fiancé is a Zombie.
Well, Francesco is the Buffalora County watchman, and he lives at the cemetery. The dead keep getting up, within 7 days after death, and he has to keep these returners down. You gotta split their heads open. He works with Nagi, a simple-minded man who rakes leaves all day.
He's obsessed with keeping his leaves in track.
Yeah.
And you got to keep in mind, this one is very funny, too. It's billed as a comedy horror.
As much comedy as horror.
Yeah, there's so much funny stuff in this. Nagi is just great, and there's so many lines that are so funny in this.
Unlike the stuff that was just stupid, this is really actually intentionally witty. It's got some really good lines in it.
Yeah, it does. He's just, Francesco is just resigned. He doesn't want to lose his job. And he's just resigned that this is happening, and he's dealing with it. He's kind of almost depressed, but he's just so nonchalant about, killing the zombies. That
if he tells anybody that all the dead keep getting up, he's afraid he's going to lose his job. So he just shuts up and kills the dead.
And does it. They keep rising. He keeps reburying them.
Well, one day he sees a beautiful woman in one of the funeral processions. He catches her visiting the grave later and learns that it was her husband that had recently died. Of course, they get talking and, oh, this cemetery is small, but it's got a marvelous ossuary. She wants to see his ossuary.
It's the biggest ossuary.
They go inside and she says, you know, you've got a real nice ossuary here. And I'm going to let you look up what an ossuary is. As she runs outside and runs into these floaty fireball things. The Latin term is ignis fatuus. And they have sex on her husband's grave under the full moon in the cemetery.
Of course.
Meanwhile, of course, the dead husband wakes up, but he's been dead for a long time. He crawls out of the grave and bites the girl.
Girl dies, apparently.
Francesco swears, nothing can separate us. Nothing. Not even death. And then she dies.
Yeah. Police come and they are like, yeah, she died and she doesn't have any family or anything. And, you know, these things happen. That's always how the police were throughout it. It's like, yeah, whatever, you know, okay, just do your own thing, Francesco, whatever, you know.
Couple weeks with Don't Torture a Duckling. A couple weeks ago we said how smart the Italian cops were. These aren't those guys.
This is the exact opposite, yeah.
Okay, so he keeps her on a table in the ossuary and talks to her all the time. Finally, she sits up and he shoots her in the head.
Because he knew it was coming, the dead rise, and he kills her again.
Meanwhile, he and Nagi go into town and meet up with the mayor. He almost gets a chance to tell him what's going on, but Nagi has a crush on the mayor's daughter, and he gets upset and pukes all over her. The puked-on girl gets up, jumps on a motorcycle with a local biker guy, and rides off. Unfortunately, they get run over by a bus, which promptly drives off a cliff.
No, it's not just any bus. It's a bus full of Boy Scouts. So here's
lots of dead
group
people.
Of motorcycle people and a bus full of Boy Scouts. All have died at once, and they're all getting buried at once.
And there's a song.
What? They all come. Oh yes, there is.
Never should have gone on the Boy Scout picnic, and the good goes on. This whole song.
They sing that at the mass funeral for the Boy Scouts.
Never should have gone on the Boy Scout picnic. Now I'm never coming back. That night, he's attacked by the entire Boy Scout troop.
They rise up sooner than he expected.
They're outside later. They go outside after the battle with the Boy Scouts, and the bikers, too, have returned. Buried with their motorcycles, of course.
Yeah, one of them roars out of the
ground.
ground.
And they do make
an
impressive entrance. The dead biker Claudio stops to pick up his living girlfriend and then rides off. Nagi, still infatuated with the mayor's daughter, digs her up. He pulls her head off by mistake. He's a little too rough.
But she's reanimated too, and so her head is alive.
So she explains after he pulls her head off that her name is Valentina.
And she likes shy guys who don't talk much.
And her head follows him home. We don't know how, but the head just sort of walks across the grass.
Yeah. So Nagi puts her disembodied head in his smashed television. And they're having the weirdest relationship I think I've ever seen in a horror movie. Yeah, simple-minded guy and disembodied zombie head. Yeah.
Yep. Nagi got a head. Okay. Francesco runs into his dead again girlfriend.
Yeah, that's
who is not dead again.
Yeah.
She bites him just as Nagi hits her in the head with a shovel. Now he thinks he actually killed her when he shot her the first time. She hadn't really been dead when her husband bit her. Because Francesco was bitten and nothing's happened to him.
Yeah.
So, on the way out from that, Francesco has a vision of the angel of death, who tells him to prevent the dead from rising by shooting living people. How'd that go?
Well, he has a nightmare that he shoots 7 people in town. Wakes up in a cold sweat.
And the next day, the sheriff comes to visit him and said, "Hey, there's somebody came to town last night and killed 7 people."
Yeah, where were you last night?
Huh. But they don't really think it was him.
They think
Nagi did it.
They never think it's him. No matter what he does, they don't think it's him.
He's just so ineffectual, he couldn't hurt anybody. But they think Nagi did it, so they go downstairs to question him. And they find that the mayor is there too, of course. And they find that he's put Valentine's head in the broken TV and they're talking to each other. She yells loud enough for the mayor to find her. Her head flies across the room, all by itself, I guess, and bites the mayor, killing him.
Bites the mayor's neck out.
Francesco kills Valentina, and the mayor dies too. And of course, that night he gets to kill the mayor a second time. Now, this is where I should probably point out, this is where it starts to get weird.
Yeah, that's where it starts. Yeah.
The new mayor's secretary looks just like Francesco's multiple dead girlfriend.
And in the movie, the actress is only known as she.
Yeah.
Because she plays multiple characters who all look the same, and they're not really the same, but he's seeing them as the same person. It's very strange.
Well, she comes to see him, saying it feels like she's been there before. She feels like she's loved him forever. She believes the town gossip about him being impotent. Everybody in town thinks he's impotent because he can't get a girlfriend. And she says she's got a phobia where she can only love an impotent man.
So she's good with that. But now he's stuck because he's been lying about that.
He's not impotent, but
so
now
he goes
he's
to
saying
see
that he is.
a doctor.
Doctor, can you cut this thing off? I need to be impotent. And he comes out with these giant garden shears and starts sweating and says, I can't do it. Here's a shot.
Mm-hmm.
And gives him a shot, which just, yeah, that'll, yeah, That was probably the worst thing in the movie.
Yeah.
So anyway, the doctor gives him a shot that just makes it go away for a month. Not after that, she tells him that, hey, her phobia is gone and she likes real men. And that's the last we see of her. Soon after, he runs into yet another girl who looks just like the other two.
A college girl.
Who
falls for him completely.
Yeah,
I love
absolutely.
You. Yeah. And
after
then
sex, she asks for 200,000 lira.
He realizes she's a prostitute.
Yeah, instead he just sets the place on fire. Someone else confesses to the fire, and Francesco is not happy about it. Francesco decides he's had enough and plans to leave the cemetery life. He and Nagi pack the car and they're off the next morning. They go through a tunnel to leave town, and when they reach the other side, they have a surprise.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't think we should tell them what the ending is. What the
Nah.
very ending is. No.
Nah.
Mm-mm. Nah.
Nah.
Yeah, Nagi doesn't say much.
Nagi just says nah,
Nah.
a lot.
Which is probably why it's called Nagi.
Yeah.
Yes. All in all, I give this like a 9.5. It's right up there. I like this movie.
Never should have gone on the Boy Scout picnic. I'll give it a good solid 8. It is very funny. Not exactly what you'd call a scary movie, but it's good.
Mm-hmm. Yes. We saw a short movie, too. Something off of YouTube called Help Me Wake Up.
And this is a short from 2018. It's a little less than 3 minutes. A guy lies in a hospital bed. Help me is written in blood on the pillow next to him. He gets up and seems to be a room lined with bloody sheets. He tears open a rip in the sheet and looks out to see his mother talking to a doctor about her comatose son. Will he ever wake up? Well, this is clearly a zero-budget movie that looks like it kind of was filmed on a potato. But there is a story, there are characters, and there are a few good camera angles here. Way lower production value than most of the other shorts we've looked at here. But either so, it is promising. At less than 3 minutes, I think give it a try. What you think?
Yeah. What you said, but less harshly.
I wasn't being harsh.
Okay. Yeah. It was chilling. I thought it was chilling. I was creeped out by it.
Okay.
I give it overall a thumbs up. Yes, the
I give it a thumbs up.
Production values were low. What it reminded me of was a haunted house that somebody
especially when he's running around in the room with the sheets. It kind of looks like one of those haunted houses.
I've worked at Halloween haunts before, and I was thinking, yeah, that could be one of the sets that I've worked on, which doesn't make it less scary because those can be really scary. And I don't know, I just kept flashing back on that and the music and creepy.
The music was good.
Yeah.
Where'd you hear about this anyway?
Twitter. One of our followers on Twitter is Bring Back Fear, who said, check out our stuff. And I looked on YouTube, and they have a Twitter channel, a YouTube channel.
Bringbackfear.com.
Bringbackfear.com, but it's Bring Back Fear, all one word on YouTube. And I just kind of picked one of their films at random.
Okay.
Said, hey, let's review this.
So here's a request for you guys. If you know somebody who's made a short horror film, have them contact us. Have them point out a film that we can look at, and we'd be happy to hear from them.
Yeah,
If you've made one,
reach us
let
on
us
Twitter.
know it.
And, yeah.
Twitter, email, we're not picky. Let us know.
Mm-hmm. We'll review.
Yeah.
We like reviewing, talking about stuff, spreading the word.
We'll watch horror movies till we get sick. Are you feeling okay?
I'm feeling fine.
You sure?
I think
don't need to go somewhere for your health?
I need a cure for wellness.
Okay, so that was a
Segue.
really smooth segue.
Did you see that?
Into our modern horror film, A Cure for Wellness from 2017. And this stars Dane DeHaan, Jason Isaac, and Mia Goth, directed by Gore Verbinski. And this starts out with a guy, who later find out his name is Ed, and he works late into the night. He opens up an envelope with a very distinctive seal on it, and then falls over with an apparent heart attack. As the camera pulls back, we see a picture on the wall that says he's Salesman of the Year.
No more.
And this just barely impacts the plot. So then we have the titles.
A Cure for Wellness.
Lockhart has just received a big promotion. One of the partners of the firm, Pembroke, has apparently gone insane and gone to some sanitarium in Switzerland.
I think he's the CEO, not just
He
one
is
of
the
partners.
CEO, yeah.
He's the partner. Yeah.
Well, the board wants Lockhart to go and bring him back and get Pembroke to take the fall for some accounting irregularities.
And that's what the letter was that Ed Morris was looking at, was the letter from Pembroke saying, "I'm quitting. Don't come looking for me. I'm done. This is the end." You know.
So Lockhart goes to this fancy sanitarium, and of course it's just an ancient-looking castle on a mountaintop.
It's cool though. Oh, it's a cool place.
I wouldn't mind visiting, if not
Big,
for the, bad stuff.
Yeah, except for that. Yeah, the big old castle.
It's a very busy, crowded place with patients everywhere. This is not some abandoned mausoleum.
All dressed in white, doing fun stuff, playing badminton and cards and relaxing, and looks really idyllic.
They're mostly old people, but they sure look very energetic.
Yeah.
Compared to the old folks' home where his mother's staying, where everybody just sits around waiting to die. They're a lot more active here.
Yeah, it's definitely more of a rehabilitation type, revigorating, restorative kind of place.
They're known for their cure.
Yeah.
The doctor explains that the sanitarium is built over a unique aquifer that offers rejuvenating abilities.
And I noticed something even early in the movie with the first guy that had a heart attack. He's drinking water, and there's a goldfish in a bowl of water, and he falls and knocks over the water cooler. There's water everywhere in this movie. Water and steam and vapor, and it's a very wet movie.
You'd think there was something about the water, huh?
Yeah, some subtle hint there that it's about the water.
So while he's explaining it, the doctor offers Lockhart a glass of water, which he quickly drinks.
Shouldn't have done that.
And then he goes back down the mountain, planning to come back for Pembroke later. There's a car accident, and then he wakes up 3 days later. He's been brought back to the sanitarium for medical care.
With his leg in a cast.
He meets the man who runs the place, who's got this very German accent. Jason Isaac, who always plays a good guy.
Has he ever played a good guy?
Whew.
He's always a little bit.
He's always bad.
Yeah, a little bit seedy.
Or he's a good guy that they want to trick him to be bad.
Yeah. But, he seems good at first.
Okay, so anyway, he's the guy who runs the place, and he tells Lockhart, "It's okay, you've had an accident, just stay here and drink plenty of water." And of course, as he drinks, he notices a tiny insect or worm inside the glass. He doesn't get too upset about it.
Yeah, it's nothing.
And I'll just tell you right now, it's a beautiful place to visit, but don't drink the water.
And it's a beautiful movie. It's at the foot of the Swiss Alps, very mountainous and lush and green and peaceful.
I didn't see any trivia that said this was a real place. Did you?
Yeah, I did.
Is it a real place?
Yeah. The main building was a real place. Yeah, somewhere. I can't remember where they said it was, but it takes place in Germany.
Okay.
But the real place, the real building, is a real old, huge place.
It's got some really good scenery, and the building is, again, with the location shots, it's really, really fitting for this kind of movie.
Mm-hmm.
We say that a lot. You'd think we were architects or something.
Yeah. And it's a very wet place, of course. There's pools and saunas steam baths.
Well, the whole point is they have special water that gives you this curative ability.
Yeah, and
maybe it makes you immortal, or maybe it kills you too.
Rich people go there for resting up and recuperating.
But very few of them want to leave.
That's what they say.
Maybe none of them want to leave. Maybe none of them ever leave.
Well, we don't know.
We get conflicting stories through the movie.
Yeah, and it builds and builds. It's a little bit slow-paced, I thought. But
I saw several bad reviews about it being slow, but I was entertained throughout.
Because there's enough weird stuff happening to make you wonder what's going on, and it does keep pulling you forward as it goes with the strange things, and then something else happens. Well, what did that mean?
I thought a lot of it was very reminiscent of Shutter Island.
Yeah.
Who's the crazy one? Maybe he is crazy and imagining
Is he crazy? Are they all imaginary? Is it all a hallucination from when he was a kid?
The doctor explains at one point that he's imagining all this and he's paranoid. And he makes a really good case.
That he might be.
Yeah, he might be. You have to wait till the end to find out.
Yeah, it does keep you guessing in that regard of what's actually going on and what's real and what's not. What's memory and what's not. It's very good, I thought.
Okay, and we are almost out of time, but before we go, we want to give you a little preview of things to come. In upcoming episodes, we're going to be looking at, for our Universal films, next week we'll have The Cat and the Canary.
I've never seen that.
I've never seen that. I don't even know what that one's about.
I've heard of it. Never seen it.
I've heard that name. I don't know if it refers to this movie or not.
There's probably felines and birds in it.
And over the coming weeks after that, we'll have Dracula, Frankenstein, and Murders in the Rue Morgue.
I've never seen the Murders in the Rue Morgue either.
I don't think I've seen that one. I have seen other Murders in the Rue Morgue.
I read the story. I've never seen a movie of it.
Dracula does talk, right? It's not a silent film? 1931?
I believe so.
Well, we haven't seen it yet, so we'll find out.
I haven't seen that version.
And as far as our drive-in movies, we've got Noroi, The Curse, The Poughkeepsie Tapes, Here Comes the Devil, and Cannibal Holocaust. So we got some good ones coming up.
Mm-hmm.
Modern movies? Well, we'll leave those for a surprise. Because they're still making new movies. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see what comes out.
All right, so...
Is that the sun coming up?
I think I hear a rooster crowing.
It's time to leave.
Okay, the drive-in's closing down for the weekend. Return your speakers and leave in an orderly fashion. Stop in during the week at horrorbulletin.com for news and horror updates, to comment on the podcast, or to contact us. Check out our Twitter feed at @horrorbulletin. Contact us if you've got a favorite short we can watch. We're looking for suggestions. Shorts aren't hard for us to find, but there's so many of them, we'd love to hear which ones you like best. With YouTube, there's just so much to choose from.
Yeah, so tell us.
And speaking of YouTube, well, that's an announcement for another time. I'm Brian.
And I'm Kevin.
And pick up your litter and return your speakers before you leave the drive-in. We'll see you next weekend for another triple feature.
See ya.
See ya.